sometimes you only get one shot and you can't blow it. Like, you know, you just have to take the shot. I wish I had a sports reference. I'm not really a sports person. Like, just, what is it called when they kick the...
Trey Young did it last night. Go Hawks. I'm just saying, he pulled it from half court, and that's the reason we're in the series right now.
You gotta just go for it. You just have to, life is short, and you just don't know when your next opportunity is gonna come. And just because you prepare, doesn't mean the opportunities are gonna come to you. You could be the very best, and it doesn't mean you're ever gonna get the shot. But if you do have it, take it. Take it. Don't be afraid of the no. You could have it, but it could be a yes. It could be the yes that you need. And you never know, like, it's no guarantee that the opportunity is going to come back to you. In my case, it was, you know, I had a shot and I blew it. And maybe it'll come back to me, but maybe it never will. But, like, we only have this one life. Nothing is promised in this life. And if you, like, when you have the shot, take it. Period.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Musically Hitched. I'm your host, Zach Reynolds Jr., and we have an amazing guest today. Someone who is no stranger to the stage, music industry at large. She's a amazing bassist. She's a vocalist. She's a lot of things to a lot of people. Most importantly, she's Téja Veal. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good to have you on the show.
I'm honored to be here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. You are absolutely musically hitched.
Yes.
You know, this is not a hobby for you, right?
No.
So it's always refreshing to have your perspective, because you've done a lot, you've seen a lot, and you've been on this journey for quite some time. So we like to get right down to the good stuff.
Okay.
A lot of people know that you're a touring bassist, and you've worked with some iconic artists. If you had to name one thing that you think has been the key to landing the big gig with whoever it was, we'll talk names later.
Yes.
What is that secret?
Honestly, it's your reputation. And that could mean a lot of things, but it's people. A lot of people think it's about who you know. Like, I need to be connected to everybody, but it's really who knows you, you know, and who can vouch for you when you're not in the room.
Right.
And every opportunity I've gotten is because someone's like, oh, I know her, I heard her, I saw her, I could vouch for who she is as a musician, who she is as a person, which you know, and it's. I mean, other than that, it's God. I mean, God first, honestly, but yeah, that's.
So
I hope I answered that.
It's not the musical. It's not the musical side. You said nothing about music just now.
Music. I mean, music, of course, is important, but there's a million talented people in the world. You know, everywhere. There's talent everywhere. There's millions of people more talented than me.
Oh wow!
But it's, you know, it's also like, are you responsible? Are you disciplined? Are you going to learn the music? Are you going to be on time? Are you going to show up with a good attitude? Are you teachable? Can you take constructive criticism? You know, like, can you be trusted with sensitive information? Like, it's so many things that
have nothing to do with your instrument.
It. Yeah.
That's great. So, I mean, you have obviously mastered that, or at least you have gotten to the point to where others think you have, right?
Thank you.
So that is critical to your journey.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, you know, we see musicians, we look at their opportunities. Hey, she's got this endorsement. Hey, she's worked with this artist. What makes her any better than me?
Yes.
And it really often becomes the intangible things. Because like you said, and I've said the same thing myself, there are people that can play circles around me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it does matter that you show up on time. It does matter that you're a good hang, some people would say, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So I think that can't be overstated. That being musically hitched, particularly in a touring environment.
Yes.
You know, you have another family. It's an extended family. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
People have to want to be around you on a tour bus, have to want to be around you in weeks and weeks of rehearsals, you know, like, and also, like, can you pick up quickly? Like, can you learn quickly?
Right.
Can you, will you learn the music? You know, like, are you able to, like, which I really feel like being in a corporate band it's definitely helped with this skill, but like, are you able to learn the music as is and play it like the record?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people I feel like there's honor in playing it like the record, because you know, like it's the record for a reason. It's successful for a reason, you know, like, but it's the same when on Pop Gig. Like, you're not there to recreate how I would play it. It's the artist wants to hear their song as they recorded it, you know, and a lot of people, that requires discipline. It requires personal discipline, being able to step outside of yourself and just, you know, play the part. Like, that's, a lot of people can't do that, believe it or not. You know?
Do you think it's true that a lot of people can't do it, or is it more of a want? Which one do you really think it is? Because a lot of, you know, talent is, like you said, we have it in droves. Atlanta, LA, I mean, there's nowhere, you can't go anywhere and not find a talented person.
I think it's a little of both. I think some people just don't have the discipline. And then some people, I think that's on the can't side. Like, some people just don't have that discipline. And I think on the won't side, some people feel like it's beneath them to I'm myself. Wow. I should approach it like me. But it's like at that moment,
how are they going to hear me if I'm playing them?
Exactly. Wow. But that requires discipline. Like, I'm not the artist at that time. Like, when I'm playing for an artist, I'm a support. I'm support staff, you know, and there's honor in that still. It's the same way, like, how people, like, I think, try to downplay, like, background vocalists. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a high skill. Half the
sound, right? Yeah,
it's a high level of skill. It doesn't make you any less important because of your background. Yeah, and I feel like the same as a backing musician. Like, there is honor in playing the part, you know, but you have to, that requires discipline of ego.
Yeah.
You know?
Honor is, I love the fact that you're using that word. That's a very, very powerful word, because some things are not honorable. Yes. Right?
Yes.
But I believe, and it sounds like you do 100%, music is honorable.
Yes.
You know, it's a gift. I try to remind myself of this all the time. Tell all the musicians that I work with that we have a gift that was given to us, God-given. We worked to establish it, to develop it, to enhance it. But you can't give yourself music. No. Sometimes it's just in you.
Yes.
A lot of times, and it just comes out. And the fact that you can hear, like, perfect pitch, for example, people that have that, that's a rare gift within the gifts of music. And it's just like, that's amazing to see someone that can hear a sound and just walk to a piano and say, well, no, it was
that's what it is,
it's this, I know. I'm in the kitchen cooking, but it's that, right? That's a rare gift. So that is something that I believe, need to honor.
Yes.
But then there are other gifted musicians, singers, songwriters themselves that have created these masterful works of art.
Yes.
And so now we have to decide ourselves, okay, how am I going to approach something that, like you said, is already honorable, right? Both of us are Verdine White fans. Iconic bass player, right? Why would we need to change his bass line in September and Boogie Wonderland?
Oh my gosh, I agree.
Serpentine Fire, right?
Yes.
You know?
Why would I want to change what made me fall in love with the song? You know, like, why?
In the first place, right.
In the first place. And, like, for example, in Perfect 10, the corporate band I work with, we have an Earth, Wind & Fire medley, and we did, like, Shining Star is my favorite song in there.
Nice.
And I love it. Like, I grew up listening to that song.
Yeah.
How is it not? To me, it's an honor to be able to replicate this iconic bass line and then play it well. Like, play it, like, to me, I feel, every time I play it, every weekend at every wedding I played, I imagine, what if Verdine was in the audience?
Exactly.
You know, and we never know, like, Perfect 10 actually ran into Philip Bailey at a gig a couple of months ago. Right?
Wow.
So imagine if he had walked in and heard us doing...
butchering
exactly.
there.
You know, like, I don't know. I will never get to play with Earth, Wind & Fire. I mean,
we don't know that.
We don't know that. But let's just, you know, Verdine White's the bass player. He's been, you know, but so the closest I can get to being able to play with that group is to play his parts with honor, like, and integrity, you
Amazing.
know?
Yeah. And that's
Which is still a dream.
that is what the audience, who are our customers, whether you're the direct booking source or not, the audience in essence is your consumer.
Yes.
So when you're producing bass, you're the only person producing bass in that room, in that theater, in that arena, in that stadium, right?
Yes.
It's only you making that one sound. And like you said, for those that are bass enthusiasts or just fans of the music in general.
Just fans of the music, right.
The way you approach that line is going to make the difference between their concert experience, which they paid.
Oh my gosh, yes, exactly. For. Yes. Oh yeah, I love how you said that. But it's the truth. And that's what my job is today, to make sure that this once in a lifetime day for this couple and their family feels and the music that they're wanting to hear. They're not wanting to hear my interpretation of the song choices that they made. They want to hear the record. They want to dance to it. They want to feel good. They want to be able to sing along to it.
Tasha. That's good.
Like we can't make it obscure, and then people be like, "What is this?" Now they can't enjoy it. Right. Now that and it's our job. I feel like depending on which gig you take, like you just have to understand your role. Now, if I take, if I'm playing at the Velvet Note and it's a jazz. It's a jazz trio. Mm-hmm. The audience is there with the expectation to hear us color outside of the lines. Right. That's a different arena.
Very different. Right.
Now in that space, they would be very disappointed if we just played this standard.
Yeah, because they're looking for you to self-express.
Exactly. Right. They're there to be inspired in that way. And so that requires a different discipline, and that's where if you want to step outside and be more colorful and creative, you have that space there. I feel like I try to give myself a diversity of opportunities, so I can express different sides of myself. If I want, I'll do that gig for that type of expression. I'll do this gig for this type. But there's honor in all of them. Yeah. And if I accept a gig, it's only because I know I'm gonna give my best and give my all. And I really feel like that's something that people miss too. Like they're just looking for the big gig to do their very best. And I'm like, every big gig that I've gotten came from some small opportunity. That I didn't know was going to link myself to here, but God knew, and can I expound on that a little? Like, for example, Janelle, the call I got for Janelle Monae. It came from, and I always tell a story because I have to give credit to Decky. I subbed, when I moved to Atlanta in 2010 to pursue music full time. Okay. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember this subbing. I subbed at a church one time. Can't even tell you the name of the church. Wow. Just one time. Someone asked me to sub for them. This is 2010. Fast forward to 2013, and I get a phone call. And I was gonna quit music too. I was depressed. I'd been in Atlanta 3 years, and I didn't move. The gigs weren't coming. I want. And I just my plan was 2014. I was gonna be an adult and get a job and quit music. So this is December, maybe first week of December 2013, and I get this call, and I never really answered numbers I don't know. I can say for some reason, but God, I believe God. Yeah. So I answered this phone call, and he's like, "This is Téja?" I'm like, "Hey, this is Decky." I'm like, he's like, I played with you, and I didn't remember. I honestly didn't remember. Decky, no, this is not a slight at you. I just didn't remember. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Terrence is looking for you." And I'm like, "Terrence?" I had no context. He's like, "Terrence Brown." So now I was a huge fan of Janelle, but also her band members at the time. And Terrence Brown was her MD at the time, and he also was a member of Jazz Specs. And I was I never got to see the Jazz Specs. They had disbanded before I moved to Atlanta, but I was a huge fan of them. And I was a huge fan of all those guys. I knew all those guys in that band. I knew of them. So, and I'm like, "Terrence, how does Terrence Brown know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm with Terrence." Terrence, I think he was friends with Terrence. And Terrence mentioned needing to get in contact with me. And Jackie's like, "I know her. I have her number." So he gave Terrence my number. But then he called me. He's like, "Hey, you need to contact Terrence right now." When Decky reminded me later who he was, I played with, he's a drummer. I played with him that day at that church. And apparently whatever I did that day was enough for him to remember me 3 years later. But, I showed up on time. I knew my music. I was a nice person. Yeah. Whatever I did, I honored that gig, which was even my gig. I was just subbing for someone one day 3 years prior. Yeah. And it linked me to the biggest gig in my life at that time, crazy. Wow. And I was able to, connect with Terrence. Two days later, I went to talk with Janelle. I didn't even play for her. I just went to I met with Terrence, her MD, and then her producer, Nate Wonder. And then I talked with Janelle for an hour. And then 2 days later, I had a plane ticket for my first show with her. Amazing. And we opened for Prince, and I got to perform with Prince.
Wow.
All from this
from
tiny...
a church gig. That's basically what it was.
It wasn't even my gig. I was just subbing. It was just one day, one time, but I would have never known.
So for context, Terrence was with Janelle's camp.
Yes.
You played with him, or was it
with Decky, his friend.
So Decky's the drummer.
Yes. Decky wasn't Janelle's drummer. He just was the drummer at the church. Yeah. Yes, and he knew Terrence, and I guess
so. Talking to you. He'd been talking about you to Terrence.
No, apparently Terrence was trying to figure out how to get in contact with me.
Why? That's what I'm saying. Like, had he heard of you outside of the church?
I'm assuming they had.
Okay.
They already knew because they had already seen me play. Like, I didn't play for her until after I was invited to do the gig.
Yeah.
So they knew who I was.
Right.
But Terrence hadn't connected that dot yet. Decky was my middle person, you know. Like, I mean, maybe Terrence would have eventually found me, but it just stood out to me. I'm like, wow, Decky remembered me from all those years ago. I didn't remember Decky or the church. I can't tell you to this day what the name of the church was. Like, I just don't remember.
But it's still amazing. And I think that I'm also hearing relationship within there. That even though, man, maybe you and Decky hadn't spoken in some time.
No, I hadn't.
But there was a rapport. There's a rapport that you have with your band, whether you, like you said, whether you sub one time or whether you're the main bassist or vocalist or whatever.
Yes.
People are going to remember their last interaction with you.
Yes.
And if it's not pleasant, when it comes time for an opportunity, even if you are talented enough, gets right back to the beginning of the conversation, right? Where, what type of person are you?
Yes.
What's your reputation? Do people want to be around you? Are you a good hang? That type of stuff.
Yes.
And if the vibe was off the very last time, that's the context that I have.
Yes.
That you may create this opportunity or you may create this energy, positive or negative again, and I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yes.
So. Wow. That's an amazing story.
Can I tell you the second?
Please.
So earlier that year in July, because I have to also shout out my mom. So earlier in that year, in July, she had gone to Essence Festival, and she calls me, and she's like, Téja, there's this girl. She wears black and white, and she had a band, and I could just see you in her band. I'm like, Mom, it's Janelle Monae. I know her. Like, I've been a fan of Janelle since I was in college, and with her first EP. But I was like, Mom, that's not how it works. Like, her band's been with her for years. And my mom just thinks since I moved to Atlanta, I'm just supposed to walk up to people and audition. Like, I'm just supposed to go to Tyler Perry's house and be like, hey, I'm here, you know? Like, so I was just like, Mom, that's not how it works. She said, I'm just telling you, I see it so clearly. You're going to be at Essence Festival in her band. I'm like, Mom, if you see her at Essence Festival now, that means she's probably not going to be, like, it just doesn't work like that. I just poo-poo, whatever.
Moms always know. They always know.
Fast forward to December, I get invited to work with Janelle. Fast forward to July of the next year, Prince headlines Essence Festival and requests Janelle to open for him. So just as my mother had seen in her mind that July, literally the very next year, I was on the Essence Festival stage with Janelle Monae in her band.
So your mom was mom's, let's call it a prophecy. That's what it sounded like.
Listen, that's what I said.
Was that pre-Decky?
That was pre-Decky. Yeah, my mom. Wow. So I was July of that year. And then not even knowing that December of that year, I was going to get the call. In July, I told my mom, it's never going to happen, Mom. She's had her band for years. She's not going to just replace her band. Yeah. Fast forward to December of that year, now I'm in her band, and we opened for Prince. So it's a Prince story attached if you want to hear it.
Right.
So I meet with Janelle. I go. It was our first show. My first show with her was Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. I think the room is like 100,000 people, maybe 40,000. I don't know. I'm bad with numbers, but it's a big room. Right. And so they're like, they're like, Prince would probably come to us. So that band at that time, they had been to Prince's house. I mean, Prince and Janelle were like this. Okay. That band had met Prince. They'd been to his house. They'd been to Paisley Park. Like this was nothing for them, but me,
they were a match.
You know, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is. And I still didn't understand at the time that he was going to perform with us. I just knew we were opening for him. So, but he and Janelle and Prince had a single at the time. That was our first song for the set. Anyway, so they're like, we go to sound check, and Terrence is like, you know, hey, just heads up, everybody. Prince will probably be walking around. If you see him, you know, especially I'm a new person, don't talk to him, don't look at him. You know, I'm like, of course. So we're in sound check. We're waiting for Janelle to come, and I look in the arena, and Prince is there, and he's walking around. I'm like, oh my God, with my own eyes, I get to see Prince. Right. So I'm this is the pinnacle of my experience so far. I'm watching Prince float around out in the arena, and I'm like, wow, I've never been this close to him. I was already like, this is the best thing ever, right? Yeah. So back then our set used to be like kind of like an asylum. So we'd have all these white sheets to be like walls, like 3 walls of white sheets.
Okay.
And in my peripheral, I see the curtains part, and I'm thinking it's Janelle walking on stage, and Terrence is in our ears. He's like, "Hey, heads up, Prince is on stage. Remember what I said?" And I'm like, oh. So I see him. I'm looking at the peripheral. I see him, and I'm like, "This is amazing! Like, this is up close."
Right.
So this is now. I thought it was the pinnacle. So then this is now. It's superseded and I watch him. He goes to talk to Kalindo, like he knew. I watch him go talk to the people in the band that he knows, and he walks right past me, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, wow, he's so close. And then he comes and he stands right in front of me. Yeah. So I don't know what to do with my eyes because they say don't look at him. So this is Prince, and I'm, I'm like, where do I look? And he comes toward me. Yeah, right. I don't know what to do now because I'm not supposed to look at him, not supposed to talk to him, and he's approaching me. And so I'm sure I was such an awkward duck. And Terrence in my ear, he's like, relax, it's cool. So Prince is like, how long have you been in the band? And I'm like, today's my first day. He's like, I know. He's like, are you enjoying it? I was like, yes. He said, are you any good? I was like, I hope so. And then he just floated away. That was. So now I'm like, what just happened? Like, it's Prince. And then to top it all off, and then we start the first song, which is the song. Our show started with the song with she and Prince, and Janelle used to get wheeled out, and they used to wheel her out. She'd be in a straitjacket. Nice. They wheel her out, and I'm prepared for that because that's how we practiced it. Right. Yeah. And the next thing I know, they wheel Prince out the same way, and he performed. So my very first performance with Janelle. Wow. I also got to play behind Prince.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yo. And I knew you were in trouble as soon as you said Prince was walking around because everybody knows that he was going to have an all-female band if he could, right? At any chance he could. So you were a target.
Man, easy and I got to see him perform. We performed again with him at Essence Festival, and unfortunately, literally the month before I was supposed to finally get my chance to go to Paisley Park, he passed away. But it still was an honor to.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And I was going to quit music, and look what happened.
You haven't disrespected or disobeyed your mother since, have you?
I'm like, Mom, what's the lottery numbers?
Right. Shout out to Mom. So let's go backwards for a minute. How did this all get started, though? Like, you didn't just, you weren't born with a bass in your hand, no. Right? So where did your musical journey begin? You're originally from Miami?
Originally born and raised in Miami, Florida. I took piano lessons when I was 9. My sister and I took it for maybe 6 months, and then we had to stop because we didn't practice. So my mom's like, we're not taking it. But that's originally where I learned to read music. I got my first foundation with reading music and piano. And then fast forward to middle school, I had to pick an elective. And I was like, let's just pick orchestra. This looks interesting. And first day of orchestra, the teacher's like, pick your instruments. And I saw this big, tall violin. I was like, I got tall early. Okay. And I had a growth spurt early. So I was like, I'm going to play that thing. And all the girls are going for choosing violin. Mm-hmm. And I have kind of like an anti-streak. So I like to go against, so I was like, well, I don't want to, they're all doing that. I'm going to do this one. And my teacher was like, no, you should probably play the violin like the girls. This is you got to be serious if you're going to play this. And I don't like to be told what I can't do. Right. So then I was like, I was adamant now. I must play this. Yeah. Like, this is what I'm gonna. And I think once my teacher saw that I actually had a natural affinity for it, he was super supportive after that. But nice. I started, and I picked up really quickly on it. And I didn't have I also grew up listening to music with my dad a lot. So very old school. That's where I got my love for Stevie and Earth, Wind and Fire and Maze, and even James Jameson. I didn't understand. I didn't put the two together, the bass that I love there with this is also what I was playing because it's classical. But anyway, played that 6th grade, and then the orchestra program went away. And then in 8th grade, I was summoned to the band room, and the band director was like, I need somebody to play these tuba parts for my marching band, but we don't have any tubas. But the school had an old Fender bass, and he's like, can you take this home? If I let you take it home, can you pick it back up? And I know you can read the music. Can you just play my tuba parts for me? And I was like, oh, sure, okay. And I would march with my bass guitar, and somebody would hold a little amp, and and I just started playing in the band. And I was invited to play. So in Miami, there was 2 major like performance arts programs in the city, and one of the schools was came and tapped me, which I didn't understand at the time. It probably was my audition, but they asked me to come play in there's the high school spring concert with the second jazz band, and so I was invited to play with them, and I played the concert, and then I was invited to the program. It's Christopher Dorsey is my beloved band director. He was director of that program, and he tapped me to come. It's Miami Northwestern Senior High School, but the Performance and Visual Arts Magnet program. And so in order to be in that program, I had to be in all 3 bands. So jazz band, of course, I was, tapped, and then I played upright in jazz band primarily. And then I had to be in marching band and symphonic band. He's like, well, since you play bass, you could just play the tuba. You can play sousaphone in my marching band. It's a easy transfer. I was like, me and my mom were like, I don't want to play that big thing. I'm a girl. I don't want to play that. I didn't want to play that. And he's like, well, what do you want to play? I was like, I want to play alto sax. So he's like, okay, well, you got to come to summer school, like take band class and learn the saxophone. So he gave me the saxophone, and I learned it over the summer. Okay. And marching band season started, and he was looking for. He put out that people to apply for like section leaders, and I was like, well, what is this? And he's like, well, you're a freshman, you can't be a section leader. And I'm like, is there a rule that I can't?
Here we go again, right?
So he's like, okay, well then go for it. And so I went for it. I was the first freshman section leader.
Nice.
And Mr. Dorsey, his program was amazing. He just recently retired, so this is I'm like. But his program definitely changed my life. But and then over the winter break, he needed an oboe player, and so he's like, take the oboe home, learn it, and come back. And I took it home and came back, and I was first year oboe for the rest of high school. So but bass is my
quick study though for music. So how old were you when you started playing again?
I was 9 when I started with piano lessons, and then I was 11 when I started on upright bass.
All right, so this is that's pretty quick. That's like a 5-year run from 9 to what did you say first year?
Yeah.
Was it? Or
Yep.
Freshman year. So that's cool. So at what point did you say, I think I can do this for a living? Because I know you said in 2010, 2013ish, it was kind of a turbulent time.
Yes.
You were like about to chuck the deuces to music and move on. But when did it click to you to say, because at some point you had to have the nerve and the mindset to say, I'm moving to Atlanta for music. Yes. So when did you decide you wanted to be a full-time musician?
Okay, so that happened around, so I got my first tour gig, official, actually went through in 2009 with Musiq Soulchild. Okay. He was based in Atlanta. And 2008, and it ended around 2009. And then I decided, but I had no understanding of music as a career. I don't come from a musical family. Like, music was just like
you're
elective.
The first musician in your family?
Okay. Especially professional, to pursue it.
Right.
It was just something that was supposed to, be extracurricular, help me look good on my college applications, and I started gigging, but that was a fun thing, and I never understood it as a way of life or a way I didn't. And then, but my first taste of touring, so this is, I want to say around maybe 2005, 2006, I had gone to Target one day and I was looking for new music, CDs. Remember those? Remember we used to buy CDs?
We used to go buy music in person.
And I was looking for something just new to listen to, and I saw Hidden Beach Records had a new artist. Her name was Onicha. And I was like, at the time I was obsessed with Hidden Beach Records. Anything that they put up, because I was a huge Jill Scott fan, Jeff Bradshaw, so I saw Hidden Beach label. I'm like, I'm sure I'm gonna love this. So I bought the CD, and I got home and I had buyer's remorse, because I'm like, once I open this package, if I don't like it, I'm stuck with it. So I was like, let me look up this artist. And so I looked her up on her MySpace page. Remember MySpace? Yeah. And I loved her voice, and I loved the she was like neo gospel. Okay. But it was, at the time I was neo soul. It was my life. So I loved anything neo soul, and I was like, this is a cool approach. And by the top of her page, she's like, I'm looking auditions for my touring band. And I was like, what is this? And she was based in California. And I was like, I gotta try out for this. This is amazing. Yeah. So I told my mom, and I was like, Mom, I have to go. And she's like, well, you have to take your little sister if you go, because it was summer, and that would be her summer vacation. So I was like, my mom had a cousin in LA, and we flew out there. We stayed at my cousin's house. I went to the auditions. I make the band, right?
Nice.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then, unfortunately, I think some funding changed with the label, and so she couldn't afford, or she didn't have the budget for an out of town musicians anymore.
Right,
So
right.
it's the first gig I never had, right? But I made this, but that opened the door to me like, what? Oh, is this a thing?
Yeah.
It's fast forward to the next year. Now Beyonce announces, I'm looking for an all-woman band. I'm like, surely this is it, right? So, and the auditions were in Atlanta. I was like, Mom, please, I got to do this. So we drove up to Atlanta, my mom and my sisters and I, and we stayed. My aunt had a friend who lived here. We stayed with them for like the week, and I go to center stage. I think it was the auditions were there, and I get through the auditions. They're like, thank you, but no. You know, I didn't have the right look. I was like, okay, great. But like, I'm now like, and I was working a job still. Like I was working as a graphic designer for like a small business back then.
Did you went to school for graphic design?
I did.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I started out as an engineering major and switched to graphic design because like once I got to physics 4, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I was working and I was still gigging at home on the side. I had a day job, and then next year I get a message on MySpace. So at this time I might have had like one picture on because I was very anti MySpace at the time. I was like, what is this? So I didn't have a Facebook at first.
You're a rebel at heart. I can tell you.
Everybody was doing it, so I did not want to do it. And I had one picture, and I didn't even have a video up. I just had a picture of me holding a bass. And I think that's about it. And I kept getting, for like 2 weeks, I was getting this message like, hey, my boss wants to talk to you, like wants to meet you. And I'm just like, so, and it was a Sunday, I remember, and I checked again. I'm like, the person that sent the message is like, okay, it's my last attempt. I'm trying to get in contact with you. And I was like, okay, let me just indulge. Let me just see what they're talking about. I respond. I'm like, what is this about? She's like, I'm sure you know who I work with. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know. And she's like, well, I work for Musiq Soulchild, and he's trying to put together a band, and we want to bring you to Philadelphia to audition. I'm like, I'm Mrs. Neo Soul. I still don't know how she found me. I didn't even have any clips.
Picture, right?
Yeah,
that's what it was. You had just no music on the site.
No music. I just had a picture of me holding the bass.
No
but
videos.
God sent it my way, and they flew me to Philadelphia, and they're like, you have to learn the show. I learned his whole show in like 3 days. Because I was a huge, I miss Neo Soul at this time.
How many songs were?
It was like the set was maybe an hour long set. Okay. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Musiq Soulchild. And I go audition, I make the band. We this time we actually rehearsed for like a week in DC, okay. And then things changed. He decided not to go with this band. He was going to use his old band. And I'm like, but the following year he moved to Atlanta and decided to do the girl band thing again. And they, for me to come, I came back to Atlanta, auditioned. Now I'm in the band for real now. And I'm on my first tour gig, and I found myself on my 25th birthday on stage in London. The next day we were in Paris. I had never traveled outside of the country, and we went to Japan. We did 2 U.S. runs, and my mind was just like, wow, this is so. And then that gig ended around Thanksgiving. The following year, he changed bands, as music is prone to do. I went home and I'm like, I cannot go back to my old life. Yeah. And
so you still had the job. You still had the graphic design job.
When I would come home, it was a small company, and my bosses were really
very flexible with you.
Yeah, they were.
That was cool.
But I went back and I was like, I can't. I have to. And I thought in my mind, I was like, I need to go to LA. This is where all the musicians go, to LA or New York. I knew I didn't like New York, so I wasn't going there. And LA kind of reminded me of home, so I was like, I have to. But I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And then I just kept feeling like God was like, no, you need to go to Atlanta. And I'm like, I don't know, country town. I've been in Atlanta for sorry, Atlanta, but it was very country to me, no water. It's, and I'd been in and out with music for a year in Atlanta.
Right.
But I just kept, anytime I thought about, I'm a rambler, so you can stop me at any time.
No, you're good. You're good.
Anytime I was trying to make the LA plans happen, it just was all this friction. And every time I thought about Atlanta, I just kept having peace. And I was like, well, God, I don't even have a place to stay. I can't move to Atlanta. I don't know anybody in Atlanta.
Trying not to move. I got you.
The next day, and I promise y'all this is how it worked out. My aunt, my mom's sister, remember when I told you when I came to Atlanta to auditions. My mom, we stayed with my...
The Beyonce audition.
Yeah, we stayed with my aunt's friend. So my aunt calls me. My aunt used to live in Atlanta, my mom's sister. And she called me. She's like, yeah, God told me that you're supposed to go to Atlanta. So I made arrangements for you to stay on Crabber's until you get your own place. And I literally just said the night before, I don't even have a place to stay, God. I need, and my aunt calls me the next day. And she's like, yeah, I made arrangements for you to stay on Crabber's. I didn't even know how my aunt knew I was wanting to go to Atlanta. Like, it's not like I talked about it. So I was like, okay, good. So I guess I'm going. And January 2010, I moved. January 10th, 2010, I drove I had a Mitsubishi Galant at the time, put all my stuff in there. I couldn't put my upright in there and stuff. I used to be able to get my upright in there without stuff. But anyway, I packed up everything I could pack up, and I moved to Atlanta, and I stayed with my uncle for a little bit. It's my aunt's ex-husband. And I started getting antsy. And I was like, well, if I don't have my own place by July, I'm going back to Miami. And I moved into my first apartment July 1st. Like every time I was just like, God, God would just line things up for me. And so, even subbing at the church when I first moved to Atlanta, said.
Yeah, because that set everything up. Like once you got here, I don't know what you did before that, but that was one of the opportunities that led to one of your most major stable opportunities with a major artist. So it's interesting the thread. So if anybody personifies Musically Hitched, it's you, because you're almost trying to get away from this thing, and the hitch is it's pulling you.
Yes.
And the amazing thing is when it's your destiny. Like, even though you were almost, because we know you're rebellious now, right? So you're almost running from it a little bit, and it's calling you. People are lining up and doing things for you without you asking for it. That is serving you and allowing you to, back to the word honor again, honor what sounds like a calling for you, right? Because a lot of people, they hustle and they grind, and we're in this culture that everybody feels like, you're watching social media and you feel like everybody must be making $1 million a minute all over the world, right? And everybody's you just get all the gigs. And this is going to be an eye-opener for some people. Because for those people that may think that you have had to politic your way into things, or you just networked your way in, or whatever, a lot of these gigs you didn't even really want. Or I just bought an album and there was an audition, or Beyonce's having it and just happens to be in Atlanta. I'm on MySpace and somebody reaches out to me and I don't even have a video.
Yeah.
That's not really trying. You know what I'm saying? But you have a love for music.
Yes.
And you have a love you have to be the way you are to succeed in this business. As far as I'm concerned, because how do you have the guts when you get in an audition on center stage, whether you get the gig or not? You still got to have the guts to audition for Beyonce. Right? Some people would never go, is my point. They would never get on a plane and go to California.
Yeah, you have to. You just have to. I feel like I just believe what God gave me. Like, clearly God believes in something in me that I don't even see.
Right,
and so that's, like, I don't trust myself, but I trust God. And every time God has opened a door, I've always been like, for real? Like, for me? Like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Like, and I felt unprepared every time. And
you went anyway.
I went in.
Yeah. That's huge. She went anyway.
Like, I have to trust God, and I trust God with my life. And like, I just want to live my life and do the best that I could do and be the best that I could be. And I don't know how to make things happen for myself. I don't.
Yeah.
I just show up. I just show up. I go to the gig. I get the call. I'm there. You call me to sub. I'm there. I go to the jam session. I'm there. Like, I just show up. Even when I don't feel qualified, which is most of the time. Even now, I'm just like.
How we show up is huge. And this reminds me of something that I heard just a couple of days ago. How we show up is everything. Like, the physical show up is the first way to show up. And then there's the level of confidence or the level of preparation. All of those things matter, but you can't do anything if you don't show up. You can't.
You cannot.
Even if you show up scared. I just told my daughter this the other day. If you do it scared, but do it anyway, right? Because you'll find the confidence, particularly if it's meant to be. You'll find it. You got to, like you said, you got to trust your skill. You got to trust your work.
Yes.
You got to trust your faith Your faith in yourself. Faith in God is one thing. Faith in yourself.
Yes.
Because like you said, God might want something for you that you don't want. Mm-hmm. And so you sabotage your opportunities by not showing up. Yeah. And then the level of quality. So that's deep. That's very, very heavy. And I like the fact that you're open to it, because it's opened doors. But what type of person have you become as a result? Let's take the base out of it. Okay. Just all of these experiences that you've had. Because Janelle Monae to Prince to didn't get the Beyonce gig to whoever, Musiq Soulchild. What type of person has Téja become in this process?
I definitely think it's made me more tenacious. Especially moving away from everything I knew and for a dream that I didn't even understand, because I didn't have a blueprint for it. I don't come from, it's like I was like, oh yeah, my uncle did this. Like I understand how to be a musician, or I understand how to, and then learning how to deal with the no's and not internalizing the no's. There's so many no's you get,
Yes, right.
I mean, it was several no's I just lined up before I got, even my first yes was a no, you know?
Right.
So it's like, you just learning how to just trust your instinct. And also I feel like it's made me more of a go-getter. I have to do it, even when I want to quit, and I want to quit 85.78% of the time, I just, I'm a worrier naturally, and I get in my head a lot, and it's I like to feel like I'm in control, and I feel like my whole career has been nothing that I've controlled. It's, I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you try to control the situation through your preparation? Because you've heard no, even after you've got the audition, that's a yes, but then you don't get the gig, that's a no. So how does that impact the way you prepare for things these days?
I just make sure I still am, I don't let it, I can't be lax. And I've had to be willing to what do you call it? Evolve. And okay, so I'll use the current gig I'm on right now. Okay. So with Lil Yachty. Right. I remember, so this gig is different, and his new project is musically is different for me. It's psychedelic rock, a little bit influences, and so I'm having to use pedals, and I'm having to it's a different type of music. But even before that, I'll just be honest, people sent me the notifications for his audition, and at first I was no, I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm 39 now. I just turned 39, but I felt aged out. I was this is not for me. This is not my age group, and then this is not my wheelhouse. I'm not a hip hop girl. His music is trap. And then I just kept getting people kept sending me hey, this, he's. So
that's how it came about. People were actually, you weren't looking for an audition. Again, people are thinking about you because but it was publicized.
It was publicized,
on social media or something.
And I kept getting tagged in the post, or people were sending me the post. And so this happened early this year. And so I had been in a space again, what am I doing in my life? What's next for me? And I've been feeling kind of out of place. Especially since the pandemic, I didn't really know how to get back out there. I was in a weird space, and I was just maybe I need to. It was kind of the same space I was in with Janelle gig. Maybe I just need to think about moving on. And so it's in January, I started getting, and then my bandmate, Jay Latoya, the drummer, we were with music together, and we also have our own band, Venus. And she's Téja, she kept getting tagged too. She's I just think we should just go. And then the day of the auditions, I had a rehearsal that day already, and then it was tornadoes that day in Atlanta. And I was this is a sign. Just gonna stay home. This clearly is not meant for me. And Jay was Téja, just ride with me. We'll go together. And we were you know what? We're just gonna show up. We're just gonna, at least we'll be showing God. I'm open. And we get to the audition, and I never got to audition because but by the time I got there, it was 5:00. They had already auditioned musicians, and they had to leave the building at 7. So I never auditioned. Yeah. And I was well, at least I showed up. It's fine, And 2 weeks later, I get a call from the MD inviting me to be on the gig. You know, like the first person didn't work out, and he was like, had I known you were there, I would have let you come in, like you would have had the gig, you know. But I'm just like, what? And then I hear the music, and I'm like, oh, and now I understand. Yeah, right. It's music. It's got bass lines. There's 2 songs that lead with bass. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, you know, and it's like the music is interesting. It's fun. It's got old school flavor, which is my wheelhouse, you know. But it made me feel really relevant again, because here's this young superstar that I feel I don't fit. Right. Clearly, I'm older than this guy by 15 years, you know, like 15? Little less, but still, I'm just, you know, I mean, I just didn't feel hip. You know, he's this young, trendy guy, and I don't know what the kids are doing these days, you know, but they saw something in me, and like his MD, so his MD is Tony Russell, bass player, and I was like, wow, the fact that even Tony Russell knew who I was, I'm like, okay, like this is, when Tony reached out to me, I was like, how do you know who I am? He's like, of course I know who you are, which is very validating to me too. You know, it's like, I don't know, I just feel like every time if it was up to me, I wouldn't be on that gig, because I would have crossed myself out of it. I was like, oh, it's too old, it's raining, it's, you know, like but had I never shown up, he would have never known I was there and reached out to me. You know, like I still had to go. I still had to put it out there. Like I still have to, I'm like people, and I feel like this message is more so now for like people who feel like they've done it and things should just come to you. You still have to be in a posture of like openness and like still put yourself out there. Wow. I could have easily just been like, you know, why do I have to audition? You know, you can't ever be too big. That's at least me. And then, I mean, maybe they'll get to a point where I'm like, you know, I won't have to, but why not? Like, I'm still aspiring. And then this is, is giving me an opportunity to be in a new market, to like be like, to like be relevant in this new scene, you know, like post-pandemic world. Like I'm just grateful for it.
It's another open door. That's amazing. I think your willingness to try, your willingness to show up, and like you said, your humility. You're very humble, right? So you pursue things with a confidence, but not a cockiness.
Yes.
I think that's
I like that.
One of your greatest assets is that you go for it as if it is mine, but if it's not yours, it doesn't stop you.
Yes.
And I think that's, for some people, maybe the reason why they have not been able to remain musically hitched is because they have gotten some of those opportunities. They've knocked on the door was open, and then it was closed. And they saw that as a sign that I should quit. I should give up. Maybe this is not for me. You, alternatively, have said, well, it must be something to that. That door must mean another one. That door says I'm qualified. Yes. That door says I'm welcome, even if the answers. Because it's different when someone doesn't have the budget for a tour.
Right.
And they wanted you.
Right.
Versus you never even got past the first round.
Exactly.
And even if you don't get past the first round, there have been numerous people on the show that have auditioned and gotten calls, or just, I haven't asked you this question yet. I'm going to. Some musicians have blown it. They've gotten on the gig. There was funding. They did have a full tour, and they messed up. And they still did not give up. Have you ever messed up on a gig?
It's not a gig, but it was an opportunity to record. So, and I blew it. With an artist. Like I hope they don't mind me telling the story. It's Avery Sunshine. So I love Avery, and I was recording. I was recording at a studio that I think her studio was based, and I was recording for another artist. Twisted Royalty is like a band. I was recording with them, and I guess she could hear it, and she came to our studio, and she's like, "Who's that on bass?" And I was, it was like, "It's me." And she's like, "Can you come to my studio? Like my studio's down." It was her and Dana, and I went to meet with them afterwards, and like, "Man, you sound so good. Your feel is perfect for this song that they weren't going to use bass on, but they heard me, and they're like, can you do it?" And I was, in the moment, I was scared, and I was like, "Well, can I take it home and record it at home?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And I went home and I did not record. Like, I just let Like I recorded it, but I never sent it to them. And
okay.
So it wasn't
that. Okay, so you didn't meet the deadline. Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
I just let my fear of, and I just felt, I don't know. And I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, but they heard me. They heard me play and invited me to record based off what they heard. And they were gracious to me because they wanted me to record it in the moment, like on the spot. And I was like, oh, I made up some excuse. I was like, I have a studio at home. I can knock it out at home. And I got home. Dana sent me the track to record to, and I did record to it. I just never.
What do you think it was?
I never sent it.
Did you not like the way it sounded? Your recording? Were you over judgmental?
I think so.
In other words, what would you change now?
I would have just sent it, like, and I would have given them the opportunity to say no or re-record it or whatever. But I was trusted with it, and I never did anything with it. And I mean, it was before her album that got really big. It was like I don't know if it should say the song or not, but it was "Sweet Afternoon," which is one of my favorite songs, and I blew it. And that could have been my window, maybe to even work with her. Right. Like who knows? I could have been recording. Like,
and you haven't, even with all your success, you haven't had that opportunity.
No, and and I love them both. They're always super kind to me. Like I see, like
you've seen them since.
She's very supportive. Like one of my friends works with her now. He's like been playing bass with her for years, and I'm like, who knew? That maybe could have been me. Maybe I could have been recording with them more. Maybe that would have been my avenue into more like recording, which is like I would really love to get more in that circuit too. But like I was trusted, and they literally handed me the ball, and I was just like, I don't know. I think about it all the time. I'm like, why? I don't even know why I did. I just was insecure, and I got in my head. I went home, and I just was like, I don't really know why I did it, but I didn't. And
well, it's helpful that you're willing to share that, and thank you for your transparency. If you had to look in that camera right there,
yes,
what would you tell the person who is on the brink of doing that? They have an opportunity now. Mm-hmm. They are gifted. They are talented. They're musically hitched, but maybe they just lack the confidence to believe that it's for them. What would you say to that person?
Just do it. It sounds cliche. It's the Nike slogan, whatever, but like, just do it. Like, you have to trust yourself, and more than anything, you have to trust what, in my instance, it's God. I trust what God has given me, even more than I trust myself. And sometimes you only get one shot, and you can't blow it. Like, you just have to take the shot. I wish I had a sports reference. I'm not really a sports person. Like, just, what is it called when they kick the...
Trae Young did it last night. Go Hawks. I'm just saying, he pulled it from half court, and that's the reason we're in the series right now.
You gotta just go for it. You just have to. Life is short, and you just don't know when your next opportunity is gonna come. And just because you prepare, doesn't mean the opportunities are gonna come to you. You could be the very best, and it doesn't mean you're ever gonna get the shot. But if you do have it, take it. Take it. Don't be afraid of the no. You could have it, but it could be a yes. It could be the yes that you need, and you never know. Like, it's no guarantee that the opportunity is gonna come back to you. In my case, it was, I had a shot and I blew it, and maybe it'll come back to me, but maybe it never will. But like, we only have this one life. Nothing is promised in this life, and if you when you have the shot, take it. Period. And just be proud that you took the shot.
That's
and
good.
And take it without expectation too. Like, just because you take the shot doesn't mean it has to go in the basket, or it's just, but the act of you taking the shot it's that's important, not making it.
The shot.
If you make it, awesome. But if not, you took the shot, and somebody saw you take that shot, and they might remember you. Oh, I know this guy who can make this half. I saw them make a half court shot before. You never know, because it's all about who knows you. It's not about who you know. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Talk to me about money management as a professional musician. Like you get the gigs.
Yes.
They pay well or they don't, right? Or somewhere in the middle, right? But how do you manage, not so much like exactly what you do, but what's your philosophy, I would say, on money management, particularly being a tour musician, because they can start and they can stop really quickly.
Yes. I have always thought it was important to live just a little below my means. So a lot of people try to be flashy and like, look at me, like I'm doing this big thing, I can afford these big things. And I've always tried to live just below. So that way so it's great when the money is flowing, it's great. And you can stack, you can have, but then when the money dries up, the gigs, tour season's over, winter comes, there's no gigs around the city, you still have money there too. And then also, I also just always feel like it was really important to diversify. So like I try not to pigeonhole myself in just one arena. Like I'm only a touring basis. I'm not gonna play at Apache Cafe or Arena Cafe 290 or it's not. Like I always try to make sure I had multiple. I could play at church. I could play here. I could play with this jazz band. I could play with this corporate band. I could play. So then that way I'm having multiple streams coming in and like multiple seasons. Like like for example, like if I'm a basketball player, basketball season is here to here, and then I'm off but I try to be like basketball player and a baseball player. So like, like this season is up, I've got this money over here for this season, So you have it's seasonal work often, right? Even though you may not know what the season is, right? But it's coming to an end, right? Especially as a touring musician. Yes. So that's very different than playing at a church like Decatur City, for example, where 52 weeks a year. Right, I was on salary, and that was
the church is going to be open, and somebody's going to be making music, right? So it could be you, or maybe not, but that's going to happen. That's a constant.
Yes.
So you believe in diversification, but within music, do you do things outside of music now as well for income, or do you just stick with music?
Since I moved here, I had like when I decided to move to pursue music full time. Thankfully, I've just been able to do music. It's been different types of music, but I'm not above. I'm not above. I feel like any way you can fund your dream, fund it. If you can Uber, if you could, so I consider my job, the job that I had at church, it was a staff position. Like it started out as MD, and then I moved into another role that was more administrative, like in the corporate office. And so that to me, it was still musical, but it was at that time, more corporate, and the benefit of that was having like insurance and having salary, but it's still I had to talk myself into not once I got out of like the more hands-on music role, like creation role, like MD, and I moved into like I was like the staff advocate for musician contractors, so it was music adjacent, but I wasn't creating anymore, and I had a hard time with that, feeling like, oh, I felt like a sellout for a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not a musician. Like I'm corporate now. And even though I still had gigs and stuff on the side, I had to teach myself like, no, it's okay. Like this is a pivot. It was a step up, but it doesn't make me any less of a musician. By having a job that's not directly hands-on base, and I think that's important for any of us to like keep in mind. Like whatever you do, as long as it's helping you progress, it doesn't, to me, there's honor in it, period. Like you're funding your dream, whether you're literally playing and getting paid to play, or doing this that can help buy your equipment for your studio, or help buy your next instrument, or there's honor in all of it. Like you just want to work and be able to keep funding your passion. And sometimes it's a direct line, and sometimes it might be a little bit more abstract, but there's no dishonor in having to go. Like I have a friend, PJ Spraggins. He's an incredible drummer, incredible producer. He writes music, and he plays festivals. He's playing all over the place, but he also drives a school bus in the daytime. And but also look how he's able to like connect with those children, and like he got to perform for the kids. Like he's still to me like planting musical seeds even in that aspect. But he's also able to still live. Let's just keep it real.
He's keeping it real.
I feel like the pandemic, if nothing else, taught us you need to have another trick in the hat.
It could go away,
None of us, like all of us, they tell you save for a rainy day, not a rainy year. Yeah, how do you anticipate a rainy era? You can't. And a lot of us were stuck. You just.
That's real. Yeah.
And there's no way any of us. There's no judgment, because there's no way any of us could have prepared for that.
That's true.
We couldn't. We had no scope. But I think if before they try to tell you to, now I think clear. Like, it's okay to diversify. Music diversity is great, but also, you know, like if you got to do some other things to stack, if you have to, you know, name of the game is like passive income too. If there's ways you can have some passive income coming in, that's what I'm trying to work on. You know, like, I think it's, as long as you're just moving forward, you know, there's no judgment on how you move forward. Just move forward.
What are some of your challenges as a female music entrepreneur, if there are any?
Oh boy,
pun intended, right? But it's a male dominated.
Yes,
it's always been that way.
Yes.
We know that you stand out by way of your pink strings, and I love that. Like we talked about off camera. But how do you deal with the challenges being a female in the industry?
It's not easy, you know, like, but it just goes back to, I just know what God gave me, but like, it doesn't diminish like sometimes how frustrating it is. Like, for example, getting pigeonholed in like the girl band box. Like I never marketed myself as girl musician. I'm a musician who's also a woman, you know, like I've never, so even anytime there's been like these girl band calls, it's always a little bit of hesitancy for me, because like my starting playing I was the only girl when I was starting gigging, like, you know, it wasn't like super popular as it is now, and I never wanted to be put in that box, because like people think that you can only do all girl band gigs, you know, or only be good for that scenario. And it's like, well, I'm just a musician, period. But that's something that you just have to, I don't know if that's going to ever go away. Like, you know, fighting against that, or like fighting to be taken seriously. For example, I never realized how many people look at my strings and don't take me seriously because they're pink. I just thought they're pretty. Yeah. They're neon, they glow in the dark, they make you stand out on stage. I'm like, this is fun. But like, I've had some gigs like in the past year where like sound guys don't treat me with respect. They're like, because I have a pink cable. Like, I'm like, it's a curling cable. This is a $70 cable. This is not My Little, you know, My Little Pony. But because it's pink, now you think I don't know what you know. Or I've had guys think I don't know how to put my settings on my amp. I was on a gig with Frank McComb. Now, if Frank McComb has hired me to play for him, I must mean I'm no slouch, because it's Frank McComb, right? And I'm on a gig with him, and we're in a sound check, and I'm playing, and a bass player that had come to check him out walks up to my amp and just starts changing settings. He's like, oh yeah, I was in the audience and I just thought you might want it to sound like this.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't even know you. Why would you, if I were a man, would you have ever come touch my amp?
True.
Never. He would have never done that. Why do you think I don't know? Do you think I'm not a professional? I'm on this gig.
Yeah, I'm on the stage. Yeah, you're not.
You know, but like there's things like that. I have a lot of times I have to play dumb. I have to pretend like I'm not understanding the innuendos that you're sending out there.
Is there a female tax? You know, is there a female tax in the music industry?
I think so. I just think it's like a double standard. It's like kind of, okay, same way with being a person of color. Let's say you have to be twice as good to be considered equal. Same with being
that's
a woman.
Black tax. But
female. It's the girl tax. Yes, you have to be twice as good to be and then it's also it's the double standard in the industry. Do they want a musician, or do they want somebody that looks good? There was a time when I had gone out for a gig and they asked me to be the ghost player, because they preferred a model who didn't know how to play at all. They didn't want her to hold the bass. They wanted me to play the music.
Wow.
And this is from a respected producer, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
So they didn't want you to play.
I didn't have to look.
Or on the screen. Right?
They hired a model who couldn't play.
Purposefully, right.
But she had to look. But they wanted me to ghost play behind her.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, that's not happening. You know, but it's also with girl musicians, sometimes it's about how you look, like, and less about how you perform. Or if you are good looking, maybe they just automatically think you can't play. Or it's a lot of like interesting games you have to play. You know, like, you know, I have, and this goes back to reputation too. Like, I've made it a concerted point. Like, when I moved here, like, I was not going to date in the industry. Like I was not dating because I didn't need anybody. Oh, she just got that gig because she's so-and-so's girlfriend, or oh, she only did that because she flirted her way on his, so I had to be like, make a point to like be super stoic and like, I don't blur those lines because I just want to be respected as a musician, not, and I didn't want anybody to attribute my success to
no opportunities to
like it's just it's just, but you have to think about those things. And I tell girls all the time, like your reputation, like you only have one time to mess that up. Like
that's true.
Then you're known for this now, and like and some guys, it's just not as it's some guys might just slap on the wrist. Like guys, their dating reputation, I'll just leave it at dating reputation, is not considered as harshly as if you're a woman, like the reputation, a guy might get celebrated for this.
You
and
see
a woman,
double standard. That's what you're saying. What about when it comes to pay? Like, how do you negotiate your pay? Not just as we'll add that to it, right? But just as a musician in general, at this stage in your career, how do you negotiate your pay? And then, maybe a dumb question, but do you feel that as a female you have to ask for more, or do you feel like you're getting the exact same pay as your male counterparts?
It depends on the gig. For me, like as far as feeling like I've gotten fair treatment, like there's some gigs where I know that it's fair, and sometimes some gigs I've been like, oh, and it's.
Oh, meaning what? Too low, or okay?
Like, but a lot of times I didn't know ahead. I knew after the fact. I'm like, what? That's what you're getting, and this is what I'm not getting, and it's. I try to, I don't know, I don't walk around like with mistrust, like I just try to take everything as it comes, right. But then once I learn, I'm not afraid to then be like, hey, why is this like this? Like, why am I not getting this? And I can't say it's been like, I don't think, like, I do feel like the gigs that I'm associated with or have been associated with, for the majority of them, have been fair. And like I've been treated fairly, and then when there's been instances when I feel like I haven't, I've just left. I've just left the gig. And then I do know like there's a certain thing that's like paying dues, and like you have to start somewhere to get somewhere. And I don't have like a hard line pay wise. Like sometimes to me an opportunity might be worth the like. I don't think I don't lowball myself any longer, but right. I'm not super money driven. Like it's money and opportunity for me, and that's just how I kind of like base things. But if there's ever an instance where I feel in my gut that I'm being mishandled or mistreated, or then I address it, and if it's not something that I feel like it's beneath me or like demeaning to me, then I have no problems walking away from it. But Gotcha. Yeah, and I feel like if you just pay attention, you can know which opportunities is like sketch. You're like, yeah, I'm not gonna even do that. Right. Like you know, like. Yeah. But I'm still trying to grow, and I'm still trying to like, I'm no Adam Blackstone just yet. So I'm trying to, I'm still very open, and I don't personally have any hard lines. Like if I enjoy it, sometimes I might take less because I enjoy what I'm doing. Like this is fun, or I like the people I'm playing with, or it's at home. It's a Tuesday night. I wasn't gonna be doing anything on a Tuesday night anyway. Mm-hmm. Sure, I'll go do this gig. It's very circumstantial, yeah. Right. But also like if I know your intent is to take advantage of me, no. Once I figured that out, it's a hard no. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. What are your aspirations for the future? What's next for Téja Veal? And let people know where they can find your excellent product, because I know you got some out there.
Wow, I love this question because it's like I like to dream. I would love. Okay, well, several things. I would love to work on. Definitely work on more original music. I have released a cover EP in 2017, and you can find that on my Bandcamp page. It was a free download. I gave it away on my birthday. And then I released my original single in May of 2020. And you can find it everywhere where music is distributed. It's called Go. I wrote it, I produced it, I arranged it, I sung it, I played bass on it. Awesome. And my friends also joined me on it, but it's my first original offering, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that in this year, in the coming years. my dream gig, well, I would love to play for like a living legend.
Okay.
And they're like, Stevie Wonder, but then Mr. Nathan Watts has been there forever, and he's so nice. But like, if ever he decided, you know what, I just don't want to do, call me. I would love, like, I just want to do, like, play like for a legend.
You got to put it out there.
Oh, and then I would love to do like one huge like world tour, like super huge production tour. But in my heart of hearts, like, I would love to be like an MD for like a house band for like a late night show. I feel like that's like a 9 to 5 that I could have.
Yeah, right. That's
still musical and like diverse every day, but I can go home and have a family, you know, like, you know, but that's something I hope. I was hoping that the TV scene in Atlanta would pick up, but it hadn't really.
I think it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's coming. Call me. But yeah, that would be fun. That would be, I hope in my future, something that's coming up for me in the future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on social media and online?
You can find me at Hello, I'm Téja. So at Hello, I am Teja. So I'm like with no apostrophe, not I am. A lot of people think I'm saying no. Hello, I am Teja. And that's my website, helloimteja.com. It links you also to my socials. You can see a list of my recordings that I've done over the years. It links to my Instagram. I'm more so an IG girl. I don't TikTok. I just, you know, I know I'm irrelevant by not being on TikTok, but it's so much to keep up with. So yeah, Hello, I'm Téja. That takes you everywhere. Hashtag Hello, I'm Téja. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for listening.
It's been amazing to have you. You have an incredible story. Your journey is unlike probably anybody that's been on the show at this point. And I just think you are the epitome of Musically Hitched. Like I said earlier, like music has chased you and you've chased it back, and you guys have just made an incredible couple. So
thank you.
just keep it going. I think everything that you want, you're going to manifest, and it's going to happen, and you deserve it.
Thank
you have
you.
a great spirit, and I'm sure our listeners gained a lot from just listening to you talk and tell your great story. So thank you again for being on the show.
I appreciate you having me. I was really nervous, to be honest, because I just feel like, you know, like I'm not like, so I appreciate you giving me a chance.
Well, that's what we want. Again, like we want to highlight the story of people that are behind the scenes, because it's easy to sit back, but then people don't understand just how you get there. Everybody gets to read about the A-list artist or the celebrity story, but the people that are behind them and supporting, like you said earlier, the support role, the support artist, support staff.
Yes.
Those are critical people to the journey, and we want to make sure that we highlight and shine a big flashlight on those people. So
thank you so
again
much.
For joining us. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, check us out at Musically Hitched. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Please hit that plus sign on Apple. That helps the podcast to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger, so we can tell you and share more and more of these great stories of your favorite musicians, and some that you don't even know are your favorite, but are behind some of the biggest projects and the biggest arts and entertainers that you've seen. So we appreciate your support. We look forward to seeing you right here, same place, same time again. Talk to you soon. Supporting this podcast is easy. Just hit the subscribe button. See you on the next episode.